All right, everybody. So, I'm too broke to play Dune Awakening, and all my friends are playing it, and I'm just so sad. So, you know, I just didn't have it in me to run session today. So we're just going to keep talking about Monsterhearts.
Wow. Wow. Harsh vibes.
Dude, the vibes are fucking abysmal right now. Are you kidding me?
The vibes are, in fact, not immaculate.
Not immaculate. Not even a little bit.
In the toilet.
So how's Dune Awakening?
It's good stuff.
Yep. I'm sure.
It's good stuff. Yeah. It's still got that fun con jank though. Don't you worry.
Oh baby, Euro jank for the win. Still, hell
like
yes,
yesterday
baby.
and the day before, I opened up the inventory of the vehicle and then I opened the chat at the same time, like the chat window, and the game just locked up, and I just could not escape from either the chat window or the vehicle inventory, and I couldn't hit escape to bring up the menu. I was just soft locked. So
Funcom.
I had no choice but to Alt F4 the game. That was the only thing I could do. Because I just got permanently trapped in the menu.
Funcom, never change.
Because I dared to open the chat menu as the same time as another menu.
Yeah, sure.
How
you know,
dare
really,
I?
that you should have known better, frankly.
I should have, it's true.
Okay. Welcome back to the Sessions Canceled I almost said the other podcast that I almost did the thing again from 100 episodes ago. Yeah, welcome back to the Sessions Canceled podcast. It's B. I'm here with Josh.
I am indeed here, it's true.
And
we return from the nether regions, the nether years.
Yeah, basically what had happened was,
you see what happened?
Crazy respiratory infection. I think I had pneumonia, frankly, because I was fucked up.
A good chance, I would say, yeah.
For like I was running like 102, 103 fevers for like almost a week straight. I was miserable. And then my little brother graduated high school, the last one to do it. We really didn't think it was going to happen, and it did. So I guess miracles are possible.
We really didn't think it was going to happen.
That's not true. The middle brother, we were like, okay, fun fact. No one knows, but then I was told this. So my middle brother was on track to be expelled in 2020. And then COVID hit, and the principal was like, look.
COVID saved him?
Literally, COVID saved him from expulsion. Yeah.
Oh my fucking God, dude.
Yeah. Yep. And you know which brother I'm talking about too. And it makes so much sense, doesn't it?
I mean, the one who stole the car, yeah.
Other one. The one who stole the construction equipment.
Wait, what?
No, youngest one did GTA, middle one stole construction equipment.
Oh, that's right. He stole the construction equipment. Right.
Yeah.
How could I forget?
I know, right? It's nuts. Dude, I was talking to the youngest, and he was like, y'all really doubted me? Y'all really didn't think I was gonna do it? And I was like, bro, you committed GTA and not the game. You committed actual real Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
He did. What the fuck do you mean? You didn't think we were, brother.
You know,
I didn't think you were going to make it to 18, let alone graduate high school.
I didn't think you would make it to 18. You know, it's funny too, because like obviously it's graduation season right now, and so my one coworker who is 18, she's like, oh, Josh, I'm graduating. I was like, oh, that's good. And I thought in my head, I was like, I assumed you were going to fail. I didn't think you would graduate. And then she goes, I know, it's a surprise, right? And I'm like, I'm glad you said it. Because I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, holy shit, she graduated. She was like, I know, it's a surprise.
Hey, at least she knew.
She knew. Oh, man. She's something, dude. I really can't with that girl. She's kind of just an idiot. Like, I don't know.
My God.
Like,
fucking brutal.
I know, but like the shit she says to me, I'm like, I just look at her like, dog, what? How did you you get up in the morning and like how did you get here alive?
Dude, so tell me how most we oh no, the cough's back. We didn't like dress up super nice to go to the youngest graduation, right? Like it's a graduation, it's not a fucking wedding.
Right. Yeah.
So I put on a nice like one of my like nicer Hawaiian shirts. I know, very cliche. I was on vacation.
You didn't tux it up.
Absolutely. Look, I will overdress to everything except a fucking graduation. So like,
line to draw.
I know, but like a bunch of my family dressed super nice, and here comes the middle one, who showed up from work in oil.
Oh my god.
Oil soiled trousers, work boots, and an oil stained, ruined white t-shirt.
Oh.
Hands still caked in axle grease. And I was like, dog, what the fuck? And he's like, I just came from work. What do you want from me? I was like, you couldn't put like a normal pair of jeans and a not disgusting t-shirt in the car? And he was like, no, I'm not doing that. Dude.
Would have been so mad at him.
This is why. Like, why, what, you might ask? It says speaks for itself. This is why. Middle one. This is why.
Yeah.
He was like, the second the youngest walks across the stage, I'm going out. I'm leaving.
What? Okay.
Because he was like, oh, I want to go I want to go home. I want to take a shower. And I want a beer. Dude, you're such an asshole. He ended up staying, but like, we were going to kill him.
Isn't that cockbite like 19 or 20?
Yeah, I think he's not 21 yet. He's 20 because he was telling me after we left that his fake ID got yoinked in the Bronx. That felt good.
Nice.
Fucking got him. Anyway, we're not talking about Isaiah's weird interfamily issues. We're here to talk about Monsterhearts because as much as I want to talk about Kane, and believe me, we're going to talk about Kane, the RPG, I feel like I owed it to you guys to talk about a little bit about my thoughts about Monsterhearts now that I've played it for 2 sessions, going to be going on 3 because Brett has once again abandoned us for this thing that he calls a job.
Gross.
So we can't go back to Lancer until he's back because I need the full party to not explode on the hardest mission they've done yet. And
kind of tight encounter design for that game, huh?
Yeah, and I can change it. I've told them like I can balance the game. I just don't want to. I already do enough work on that campaign as it is.
Fabulous, kind of like that too. I
had a feeling.
Yeah.
When you were really hype about like the monster building, I was like, I feel like this is a lot, and it's just to me, I feel like Fabula would feel like a lot, even though Lancer doesn't. But it seems to be the opposite for you.
I'm still hype about the monster building, and I do still like it, but it is a bit. I was gonna say unwieldy, but that's not the right word. It's I don't know, dense? Like, you have to plan ahead quite a bit. Let's put it that way. Like, I do like it, and when it's working great. But it does require quite a bit of planning ahead, and it's not super on the fly friendly. That's all I'll say for now.
Yeah,
without getting too into it.
It seems like that was likely on purpose, just considering that they were like, if it's not a real combat, just make it clocks. That makes it easier. So you can sort of get a little bit more away with the on-the-fly stuff.
Yes and no. Stuff and things. There's some other info. I don't want to go down the Fabula train too much right now, but let's just say there's a playtest document out there that's addressing it. So,
yes, Paladin and I were looking at it.
Yeah. So
yeah, he was like, "Oh, they're getting rid of initiative. That's interesting." And I was like, "Oh,
getting rid of the role."
The role, yeah.
But not, which I don't know if I love that or not. I don't know. I'm a little iffy on how initiative works in Fabula, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I feel like because it's a little unorthodox that
I'm in two minds about it.
Yeah. I mean, I am too, frankly.
No.
But anyway, this is not about Fabula. We're here over Monsterhearts, and I mean, a quick disclosure: I'm not going to have a lot bad to say about this game. I really like this game. So it's going to be mainly me.
Most of the bad things we did address when we talked about the game broadly. Like the fact that it doesn't really teach you how to play the game very well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to make reference to that. So most of this episode is going to be me glazing Monsterhearts. So just prepare for that. If you want healthy critique, you're not going to get it here.
Glazed donuts.
I can't do the nice. I can't do that really loud tongue click that he does.
I know. I wish I could do that click. That'd be great.
I do too. I can't.
Side note, I know that the glazing becoming a term is very weird to me because I know that it's probably referring to the idea of glazing a donut, right? But I'm gonna be honest. The phrase glazing, when I first heard it, it didn't make me think of donuts.
Yep.
Made me think of some more 18 plus things.
No, I mean, it's absolutely a double entendre.
Yeah, that was where my brain went. I was like, I don't know if that's okay. I think
the funny thing about glazing is that I think a lot of people think it means when it almost certainly does not actually mean that.
Well, glazing something just means you're talking it up, like you're
right. But I don't actually think it means what a lot
you don't think it means fellatio?
Yeah, no, I don't. That's not
where I was going, actually.
No, I think I know exactly where you're going. I think we're sharing our single brain cells on that
the brain
one.
cell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that joke where it's like, I want to be his eclair, not his frosted donut or something.
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah. Anyway, Monster. I mean, look, we're kind of on topic of Monsterhearts.
In a sense, we are. Yes,
in a sense, yeah. Okay, I mean, general thoughts. The game, which is to say, running the game, because I am not a player in Monsterhearts, is quite fun. We kind of talked about it in our initial review, eons ago, back in the old time. That MH1 and MH2 being part of the first wave of PBTA games, it greatly behooves you to read Apocalypse World first, because in a lot of ways, Monsterhearts feels like a toolkit, similar to Hellscapes and D&D. That aside, what it is and how it flows and the vibe, like this, the synchronicity it hits between the admittedly light mechanics, but the mechanics you do have and the feel of the role play and what it wants you to do is immaculate. Vibes, immaculate. It's genuinely peak.
I just need to take a mental pause. The word synchronicity has been ruined for me forever because of fucking Baki. It just makes me think of that old man being like, synchronicity. Shut the fuck up.
Oh, Yanagi, you mean? Or
yeah, at the very beginning of the Prisoner arc, when he's explaining how all of them might miraculously break out at the same time, he's like, synchronicity. Sorry. Anyway, yes, I mean, the magical sauce of Monsterhearts is basically just if you play it correctly, which is to say how Apocalypse World tells you to play, it will be fun pretty much no matter what. Like, the Apocalypse World framework is just so woven. It's just woven together so well that it's, if you just follow the rules, it's like kind of hard to fuck it up.
Yeah.
You know? So Monsterhearts is an extension of that.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't really know. I'm trying to figure out what other ways to put it, but no, like it really, in what you get from it and the way the reactions feel, the way the player moves feel, it really strikes a perfect balance between mechanic light, narrative first gameplay and genuinely thrilling, I mean, narrative. Like, I don't really know how else to put it. While playing it, every single time a player did a thing, I immediately was staring at the reaction sheet, being like, like someone going through a Rolodex, like, I think I'm going to pick this one.
Right, which is exactly what. So that's kind of the funny thing about. That's the funny thing about the whole like PBTA movement is everyone's playing, you know, before Apocalypse World, everybody is like, you know, playing D&D or whatever, you know, fucking White Wolf game or whatever. And you're already doing GM moves like all the time, right? You're always doing GM moves, but nobody framed it in that way. Nobody described it that way. Then Apocalypse World comes along and gives you like this little like grocery list of GM moves. And like you just described, when you first start GMing any kind of PBTA game, assuming that PBTA game still uses the moves, which for the most part they do. There are some that don't. You look at your little grocery list every time rolls come in and be like, what do I want to pick from? You know, you're looking at the menu. And then after playing it for a little while, you stop looking at the menu because you've been to the restaurant so many times that you know what the menu is, and you just start riffing and going. And then you start appreciating like newer things about the menu because you didn't think about like, oh, I could use this ingredient with this ingredient and slap some things together. Ooh, that might be fun. And yeah, it really is a fun thing on the GM side to just contemplate your list as like you see every time you see that six or below, you're just like, yes, now I get to have some fun. Like,
yeah, you just look at them and go,
my turn.
Oh, it's gonna get interesting.
Yeah. And because of the chaotic freeform nature of how the basic moves and how the player's moves works, you as the GM will end up surprised or intrigued or like slightly caught off guard. Like stuff will happen and you'll be like, I didn't think I would have to respond to this, or I'm not sure how I was going to have to respond to this, because, you know, in a game like D&D, you plan everything out. You have your ideas and you leave some things open, right? You never know how players are going to respond 100%, but there's certain things that you plan out that you're like, this is pretty much how this is going to go. And I know it's going to go to X and then Y and then Z. And because there's no rules is written in D&D, there's no rule that if you fail a roll, anything in particular has to happen. In fact, rules is written, if you fail a roll in D&D, nothing happens, right? Like the game tells you nothing at all happens. Mm-hmm. Whereas in a Powered by the Apocalypse game, not only does something happen, but the thing that happens has to actively upend what was previously happening in some form or another. Like the degree to which it upends things obviously is, you know, you can play with that, but it has to fuck with the current status quo, which goes back to there is no status quo in Apocalypse World. And you could extend that out to, you know, Monsterhearts and Dungeon World and Saga of the Icelanders and all those other games. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think
that is the fun of GMing the game in a lot of ways, is looking at your shopping list, your menu.
Right, and like as like a little aside, I really appreciate that, and I don't know if Apocalypse World did this, but for Monsterhearts, you get in the like the online resources part, they give you little handout sheets that summarize pretty basically like what the player moves and the GM reactions are, and it really helps me juggle figuring out what, like, how to help guide the players, right? If they're like, oh, I think this works, and I go, oh, well, you can do this or this. It helps me switch those things quickly on the fly while doing my FF14 double weaving with my own reaction sheet.
Right.
Because I have these two things that I can look at. Because frankly, anything that helps me not have to crack the rulebook every 2 seconds and ruin the pacing, good, give me more of that. Especially for like someone who's running for the first time.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, cracking the rule book is something I do very, very little if I'm doing a PBTA game. Mostly because I don't feel the need to. Like, obviously, I know the system now, but even before I did, I don't feel this deep need. Like, there's no pressure to crack the rule book most of the time because I know I can make a call on the fly, and 9 times out of 10, it will fall within the moves list in some fashion. And the minutia of how should this work mechanically is just not as big of a concern. And the few times it is, maybe you pause, but most of the time it won't be. Mm-hmm. Because all the games, the core mechanic of the game and the way the 2d6 and the failure, middle success, and full success, that core mechanic just loops into everything. So just seamlessly, basically, that you don't need to reference much because you're always referencing the same mechanic 90% of the time.
It's true. And I really like a game that doesn't break my rhythm. Like, I love Lancer.
Yes.
Probably my favorite tabletop game. But when it's just me running, right? Like, doing my thing, it's very, like, I don't break rhythm very often. But part of being a GM is helping the players, especially with a game that, we've been playing it for a year, but they have not read that rule book backwards and forwards 3 times. I have. So they're going to have questions about, at this point, not even about basic shit, but it's like, how does this really obscure thing interact with this thing? And then I have to go, oh, it's a good question. Let me look that up. You know what I mean?
Well, and also, I feel like personally, a game like Lancer, you have to break the rhythm because the minutia of is this ability going to affect my, I forget, you don't have stats in Lancer, but actually, here, I'll use Fabula, right? If you inflict a status effect in Fabula, the minutia of, is this affecting my might or my dex or my will or my insight? Which one of those stats are being affected is really important, right? If the player says I inflict weak on the enemy and I don't check and I miss and I'm incorrectly assume that weak affects the enemy's dexterity die as opposed to its might die, that can be a really big deal. I might be actively screwing over the player because the enemy has a high might die, and if they had dropped their might die, that might have made them miss the last 3 attacks they just swung, but I incorrectly assumed, right? So that minutia in a game like a Lancer or Fabula or D&D, you're checking the rule book because that minutia can be a really big deal because it could swing it for the players or swing it against the players. A game like Monsterhearts, that minutia is just not going to come up as much because there's not as much minutia to stress about, especially in Monsterhearts. Monsterhearts is even lighter, I think, than like base Apocalypse World is.
Absolutely.
So it's like, yeah, the stress of that minutia is not going to come up as much. And if you do take a swing and a guess and you take a slightly wrong guess, you have more leeway to be wrong in Apocalypse World because the numbers don't swing as crazy. And you could maybe incorrectly say that a player has a +1 when they should have a +2. And that will fuck with their roll, but because you have the window of success, it might not have actually, like, the +1 might have taken them from a 7 to an 8 if you had remembered the rule correctly, but a 7 is still a middle success, so it didn't matter,
Yeah.
Like, all that there's little intricacies about how it's designed. So yes, the idea of not referencing the rule book is definitely a good one. I agree with that take for sure.
I had a fun little thing where I got to use a action.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a fun time. I kind of flipped it a little bit where I used when my werewolf player transformed for the first time, right? Because I'm basing a lot of this iteration of Monsterhearts in like very light Rule of Darkness.
Right.
Obviously, when a werewolf from World of Darkness transforms, all non-magical creatures suffer the delirium. So I was like, I feel like enact drastic measures makes sense for like, it's a werewolf. People are literally shitting themselves and their psyches are breaking because werewolves aren't supposed to exist, you know?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And you can just go, well, you know, what does an enact drastic measures even fucking mean? Great question. Whatever the fuck I want it.
Whatever the fuck you want, right? Like, that's the thing. That's why that's why all of the reactions are phrased just specific enough to give you an idea, but vague enough to apply in lots of different ways.
Yeah, I had a...
It is literally, I mean... I know it's a joke because I feel like I bring her up all the time, but it is literally the thing Dale Kingsmill always says about vague and evocative, right? Mm-hmm. It's just a vague enough statement to give you some ideas, but evocative enough that it's going to spring something to your brain.
I think it's really funny, and I believe Failing Forward was first like really codified in Apocalypse World. I don't know, but I feel like that's where the first time I ever saw it.
That's where I know it from. Yeah.
PBTA is the most fun I've ever had having characters fail forward. Like, for example, when the werewolf player wanted to attack the vampire, she rolled, like, I think she rolled, she may have rolled a 1. Like, or 2, she rolled, like, terrible. Either way.
Bad.
But I was like, well, I feel like the fail forward here is that you hit, you just do way more damage than you thought. And like I described in brutal detail how like she crumpled the vampire like a pretzel and like embedded her into the concrete wall over like a banister. And that really helped with the delirium because everyone went, oh my God, and just ran away.
I just not that it really matters because, you know, obviously session's over, but I am curious. So what was her objective in the role she made? Was her objective to hurt the vampire?
Yes, it was to basically backhand her over a balcony. The context of Brett's character, who, because he wasn't there, I turned it to an NPC and he was like kidnapped by vampires and was used as like a blood bag for a week. The players were looking for him at the house party that they went to and found him upstairs, and the vampires were like trying to lead him back deeper into the house as he was trying to escape. And in attempting to help, Siffy's character's boyfriend punched one of the vampires out and got stabbed for it. And that was my reaction to trigger Darkest Self. And the whole thing about werewolf is that you like revel in causing as much damage as you can.
Right, you go ballistic,
Yeah, so I was like, well, you're not trying to kill her. You are trying to hurt her by pushing her over a banister. But given that your boyfriend is bleeding out, you're probably going to hit a little harder than you wanted to with your giant werewolf body. So,
that's interesting. Because if she failed the roll.
Yeah.
But you still kind of gave her what she wanted, which that's an interesting choice for me. I don't know if I would have thought to do that because like she wanted to hurt them. But so like she got what she wanted, but not how she wanted.
It was, so I very literally used turn their move back on them.
Right, true, yeah. That's a good point actually. Yeah.
Like the fact that werewolf is dead. There is now a body that is the police are going to have to figure out. And then another player tried to, the poltergeist character, the ghost in the machine, she also was like, I want to kill this guy because this jock punched my girlfriend in the face. And she didn't literally mean kill this guy. But given that she's also in her darkest self, and she triggered it herself by lashing out physically. Kill this guy. Yeah, that I didn't say specifically if he died or not, but like he got smashed by a giant picture frame, and like the glass like embedded itself in his throat, so you get the good like aortic spurt.
Nice.
And so that's maybe 2 bodies, and then Sereth's character, the Fae, she straight just murked a guy. She was like, oh, I turn into a fire elemental and I try to roll to inflict harm. And I was like, you're literally made of fire. And then she rolled really, really well. And I was like, look, this guy's already taken damage. He doesn't have enough like harm left to not die. So yeah, you just burn his face off.
Nice.
So nice. Potentially 3 bodies were stacked over the course of one night.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I must ask, since we're talking about you, responding to rolls and everything. So how did you feel about never rolling dice? Because
I like it a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
It's good.
So this is one of those things, right?
That good shit. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, listen, I don't want to be like that guy who's like, listen, I know what I'm talking about, but it's one of those things where people look at Powered by the Apocalypse games and they see that the GM basically never rolls dice or incredibly rarely rolls dice. And they are like, they're like, what? But I want to roll the clicky clack math rocks. Like, that's the fun of tabletop. And I understand the sentiment, but I almost always say to someone, I'm like, just give it a little twirl, because you're probably gonna like it more than you think.
Well, so like I think it's one of those things where it's like, I want to roll my clickety clack math rocks. That's a very player idea, right? Because when you're a GM, you have to,
I feel like
when you're
it's a
rolling
player
D&D,
idea.
you roll way more dice than a player when you GM D&D.
Yeah.
Because you're rolling for every initiative, every attack, every damage die, every trap, every spell. Like, you're doing all of that shit if the player's not doing it. Frankly, that's a lot of fucking dice to have to keep track of constantly and prepare for constantly. And you want to make sure that your dice are balanced, your damage are balanced, all that shit. That gets fucking stressful. And it absolutely gets stressful for me and Lancer. And I love Lancer.
Yeah.
And playing this, and then Kane, which literally says you as the GM don't roll a goddamn thing. Don't roll dice. Yeah. I was like, let's fucking go, gamers. And you can literally, people want to have their Matt Mercer moment where they're standing up at the table and just calling things out. Mm-hmm. This is how you do that.
Yeah.
I've never had I was playing with my family. I ran Kane for my family while I was in New York. And I got to do that thing where it's like, so one player, it was like, you're against the clock. What do you do? And a player's like, okay, I do my thing. I'm like, all right, roll your 2d6. Okay, what are you doing? Oh, I do my thing. Okay, you roll your 2d6. What did you roll? Okay, this happens. All right, what did you roll? Okay, this happens. Like, you just turn into like an auctioneer. Give me one. Give me get 2. Let me get 2. Can I get 3? Can I get a 3? Like, you're just moving with the quickness, and it's so nice.
Yeah. I think, I mean, everything you're saying right now is basically all of the stuff that hit me when I first ran Apocalypse World and Dungeon World and felt the magic. So like, yes, everything you're saying, I'm sitting here like, yeah, been there.
No, look, I will allow you this one time to be like, no, I was right.
Yeah, well, because it's not even so much about being right. It's just, I like it because it opens people's, it opens your mind, right? Like, you take the spice and you see the multiple realities. It opens your mind to like how RPGs can be done. And even if you, at the end of the day, decide to slide back to D&D Daddy, you come back with a fresh new perspective, and then that betters the perspective of D&D or whatever you're running. Like, it's just a good, it's kind of like where if the rich white guy who's like a little bored with his life goes on like a retreat to a temple or something and like does the monk experience for a week or whatever, and then he goes back to being a banker, but there's like a different part of his mind he tapped into that he didn't think about, and so he looks at things a little bit differently. Like, it's that perspective idea.
Oh, can I be so honest with you? now that I've played so many different RPGs, I have literally, genuinely, zero desire to go back to.
Yeah, welcome to my world.
Yeah.
Welcome.
And like I felt this way for a while.
Yeah.
But like I just don't want to do it. Like I was looking at Daggerheart again recently and I was like, I kind of want to play this again. If I want to do like my high fantasy, you know, special snowflake character, I'd rather just play Daggerheart because that was fun as fuck.
Yeah.
And that game is way easier to homebrew.
I think D&D has fallen into a similar trap as AAA gaming or AAA games, I should say, where there's a comfort and like a familiarity and expectation in the AAA space, right? Like if it's a AAA RPG like the Final Fantasy VII Remake series, you know, you expect awesome visuals and it's going to be amazing mocapped animation and, you know, you're going to have great facial rigging and voice acting. You know, there's like this expectation, but AAA games are not pushing the boundaries anymore, you know? Like they always play it safe. It's very rare that a AAA title these days does something in terms of the game design that really kind of catches you off guard and makes you be like, oh, that's a crazy idea. That has all shifted into the indie space. And I think tabletop is kind of the same way, where D&D has the high quality art, the excellent book layout, you know, the continuous product lineup, right? They're always coming out with a new book. It has the high quality website. Now it has the well integrated character sheet, you know, the online character sheet. All that stuff is nice, but D&D, the game, mechanically is not pushing the boundaries in any way. And so once you shift into the indie space and you see all these different ways you can go about things, it gets kind of hard to like go back to the playing it safe system sometimes.
It really, dude, it does. Like,
and you will a little bit, right? Like at the end of the day, you know, sometimes you go back and play a little Fortnite. Yeah, you go back and play a little Fortnite, but it ain't the same after you've played every other option.
No, it's really not. And so here's the thing. Lupo was talking to me. Granted, this is over a year ago, right? And he was like, "Oh, I'm playing D&D, and it's like we're playing, you know, heavily inspired by the Demon Slayer anime." And in my head, I was like, I don't want to do that in D&D. That doesn't sound fun in D&D. I want to do that in literally any other system, because it could be peak. It could be so fucking peak, and it's probably a lot of fun. He probably loves it. I mean, he says he's really enjoying it. So like, I'm gonna assume that train's gonna keep on rocking.
Right? Yeah.
But can you imagine doing like, and I'm not even saying PBTA is the game for this, but like something like Lancer, where you get to like customize your own breathing style, and it's super intuitive, and you get to take techniques from other breathing styles and incorporate it into your own.
This is
you can't do that shit in D&D.
Well, you can, but there's so many barriers to doing it, and what ends up happening is you realize is that there's other games that will serve your need. This is literally okay. I'm having a conversation with the femoid.
Oh no!
At this point, I just say
Lita's gonna fucking kill you.
I know. I just say it to bother her at this point. I'm having a conversation with my girlfriend, and she was saying how her other D&D group, who are vehemently anti-learning new games, right? They are not the kind of players that are going to go out of their way to learn a new system. They are just like, we know D&D, we play D&D, and you know, they're the kind of people who like, they use Zoom to play. They've never tried to use Roll20. They tried to use Discord one time and somebody had an issue and then they all gave up. You know, they're not going out of their way to like try other shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's fine. Whatever. Do your shit.
It's not.
I'm not like, it's frustrating to me, but I'm also like, I'm not going to tell you how to have fun, but it is frustrating to me.
I will.
But I'm
call
talking to
you
her.
Cringe.
Maybe I'll call you cringe. But I'm talking to her, and she was like, "Yeah, for our next campaign, the GM wants us." So like, the previous campaign, the players, I don't remember if they failed or something went wrong when they did the final boss fight, but basically the world like fell apart. There was like a big like the bad guy won type situation or something akin to that. So she's like, you characters now are going to be, are going to be orphan children after the apocalyptic event. And I was like, wait a minute, orphan children? She's like, yeah, we're all like 16-year-old characters who live in like an orphanage. And because we're child characters, she nerfed all of our stats to represent, like, to make it so that we're not as strong. And I'm like, okay, first of all, that's not even going to really achieve that because you still have all your other D&D character bullshit that you can use. Even if your stats aren't as good, you're still going to have, you know, the ability to cast fireball or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm like, what is the game going to be? And she's like, I'm not really sure, but she was like, we're not going to fight much. It's going to be about trying to run the orphanage or like make the orphanage better or something like that. And I'm sitting here and my brain immediately goes, okay, there's literally a game where you could do this perfectly and it would work in every single way and the game would work like with you. You could just play kids on bikes.
I was just saying, I was just thinking you should play fucking kids on bikes.
You play kids on bikes and it will do exactly that. But they don't want to do, and again, I can't tell you how to have fun, but it just frustrates me.
But I can tell you you're cringe.
Yeah, I mean, sure, but it just frustrates me because I look at it. It's like if you just looked out at the other systems a little bit, yeah, you could find like it would be like you could do it with D&D and have fun, or you could do it with kids on bikes and have like fun plus.
Did you almost say kids on bikes?
Kids on bikes. I did not. If I said that, I didn't mean to say that.
It's fine. I'm queer. It's Pride Month. I'm gonna say it.
Fair enough. But it's like you could have fun plus. You know, like you could take it that extra step.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're experiencing the same thing I experienced, where I played a bunch of different other, I played a bunch of other games, and I look at D&D and I'm like, you're just not doing the thing I want. And now even the thing that D&D does is getting pushed out by other games, right? Like D&D's thing is heroic, high fantasy, save the universe type shit. But now we have Draw Steel. We have Daggerheart. We have Grim Hollow, which is still using D&D, but is adding so much shit at this point. It's kind of becoming its own thing. We have fucking, what's that other one? D20 something? Oh, God, what's it called?
Cauldron Roleplay.
I can't remember. That other YouTuber is who's making like another like D&D-esque style. I'm blanking on the name hard here.
My Cogent Roleplay jab. That.
Oh, Cogent Roleplay. I mean, sure, I guess. It's in there somewhere, I guess, yeah.
All right, fucking emphasis on somewhere.
DC 20. That's the game I was trying to remember. DC 20.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's like that. Those games are doing that and going out of their way to try to push that genre forward, right? So, yeah, you look at D&D and you're like, what? At this point, the only reason I'm sticking around with D&D is because you guys pay the nice artist. You pay a lot of money for good artists. Like, it's kind of how I'm feeling right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is not a jab at you. This is just a jab at that concept where it's like, it couldn't be me. My favorite game writer does all his own fucking art now.
Yeah.
I shout out to Tom Bloom, a designer of fucking Lancer and Kane and Magna Gothica Malagast and fucking killed 6 billion demons. Because that dude's art style, it fucks. And like,
very interesting art style. Yeah. It's funny because I said when I was looking at the Kane book deal, I was like, in some ways you can tell he's not the most experienced artist. Like in some ways it's bad and he probably is very self-taught. But in other ways, it's really good because he has honed down a look in a really good way that hits. Mm-hmm. interesting. It's an interesting. I don't know what to. There's probably a word. There's probably like a phrase for that. But yeah, he's hit this interesting, weird like middle ground. Like he doesn't have the traditionalist training, but he figured out his own thing. I don't know. It's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know where else to go with this. You're just reiterating things I say all the time at this point. You know, like, yeah.
Look, I mean, I'm a big enough boy to go, I finally get it.
Yeah, well, because you ran this is the thing, right? This is the secret. You ran a game, which in this case was Monsterhearts. You ran a game that the theming and the tone and everything was what you were looking for. And then the mechanics intrigued you enough to dip your toe in. And then once those two things overlap and you know start to work together, that's how you find your like new favorite game, you know, and that's how you, yeah, it's like how your ideas for like game design and style of game and all these things, like that's how you hit that next step. So yeah, but I will acknowledge it requires the right concoction of ingredients, you know? Like it requires the right time, right? You need to be in a point in your life where you can, you know, sit down and absorb the new game. It requires the right headspace in terms of the kind of game you're looking at. It requires interest in the theme and the style of the game. And then it requires that open-mindedness of trying to figure out a thing that might not immediately gel with you. You know, it does. I acknowledge that it necessitates a perfect storm to a certain degree. But man, once you hit that perfect storm, it really fucking, you're off to the races. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like honestly, I don't know that I think it needs that perfect storm. I just think it needs a certain, like, yes, to have an open mind does require a very specific set of circumstances. But I think it's just as simple as being more comfortable stepping out of your comfort zone. Like,
that's kind of part of the storm,
podcast,
I feel like.
I almost certainly would not have read any of these games.
Yeah.
But part of us running this podcast is I have to constantly step out of my comfort zone and read a bunch of books and not know if I'm going to like them or not. And more often than not, even if I don't love the book, I will love things in the book. And that just makes me a better player, makes me a better GM, a better content creator. Like,
yeah, pretty much every game there's going to be something, you know. It's nigh impossible, I think, to read. Even the shittiest of role-playing games will have one or two ideas where you're like, oh, that's kind of cool, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a good title name for him. When Moogie's boyfriend showed us the like index card RPG, that had I wasn't thrilled about that rule set.
Yeah,
but it was a fun game. Like some of the stuff, like the using a seating chart for your initiative, and like, there was some really interesting stuff they were doing for like attacks and damage that I was like, oh, this is kind of neat. Like I could see someone using this as like a, you know, crash course. Let's play a tabletop RPG while we're around the dinner table kind of thing.
That game, I will say, looking at that game, not that I read it super thoroughly or anything, but my immediate impression of that was, I was kind of looking at that game. I was like, oh, this designer's sort of kind of trying to do what Apocalypse World did, but doing it in a little bit of a vacuum. You know?
Sort of, yeah. It seemed like, because I 100% see what you're saying. To me, it breathed more of, I want even less prep time than Apocalypse World.
Yeah.
I want
I want 30 seconds.
Yeah, this game has to fulfill a niche for people with the highest degree of ADHD.
It's almost like a board game in that way.
Yeah. And for what it did, I think it was successful in that. So, you know, good on you in Next Card RPG.
Yeah. Shit, what was I gonna... what was I saying before? Perfect storm. Oh, I was just gonna say, in reference to what I was saying about the perfect storm thing, just to give an example of like how I started to find all this other shit. For me, it was kind of funny because this is gonna sound a little depressing, but don't worry, it's fine. I'm fine. I went away to school, right, to college, to my first college before Mercy, and you know, it was literally the I don't know anyone, I don't have any friends scenario, right? I went away to Boston and didn't know anyone, and the dorming community of my school was quite small. I mean, the school itself was pretty small by the time I got there. This is a school that shut down, so they were dwindling. I feel like have I not told you this whole story, Isaiah? I feel like I have.
So I didn't know the school shut down, but I think you have told the story.
Okay, well, yeah, so they shut down. But the dorming community was small, had no friends, and so I was doing a lot of like playing video games in my room. You know, I was doing a lot of like playing video games, talking to my girlfriend on like Discord, basically, or maybe my phone. I don't remember. I don't even remember if I had to. No, I probably did. And it was a long distance situation, so there's that too. And you know, I don't even remember how, but I came across an actual play of Shadowrun, which I know is like LOL fucking Shadowrun, but yeah,
I mean a little bit
Shadowrun. And that was how I found a YouTuber who now I watch all the time and still watch a lot of his content and, you know, like a lot of his shit. He did a lot of role-playing content, and I came across this and I was listening and I was like, wow, this is interesting. And then I found some other things, and then I watched them. They did like a little mini couple of sessions of Apocalypse World. And I was like, what the fuck is this? And then I don't even remember how, but they mentioned Dungeon World or something. And at some point, Adam Cobell, who is one of the designers on the original Dungeon World, GM'd for them. And so Dungeon World came up through that. And then I started following Adam. And then I looked into Dungeon World. And then I found out that Dungeon World is based on Apocalypse World. And then I looked into Apocalypse World. And it was kind of this like chain reaction thing. And I ran Dungeon World because I had run D&D. And then there was the, you know, 4th edition. And then there was this big long break, and I didn't, you know, I was kind of like, it reignited. Like I had gotten the flame lit when I was in high school, and then it died out, and then it reignited it for me. I was like, shit, I want to run stuff again. And when I was watching the actual play of them playing on Shadowrun, they were using Roll20, which I didn't know existed before. And I was like, oh my God, you can play D&D or the likes online, and there's like a functioning, you know, way to do it that is designed for this exact purpose. Let's fucking go. Because now by this point I had gone away to Boston, all my friends were in the fucking military or back in New York or whatever, so everyone was far away. I was like,
it is kind of wild that so many of your friends were like, I'm joining the Air Force.
4, yeah, one of them's in the Navy, 1 Navy, 3 Air Force. But either way, everyone was far away. So I was like, oh my God, I can play D&D online with my friends. Let's fucking go, gamers. So yeah, it was like, and it was just this, it was this perfect storm because I was looking for something to play. We had this thing online. I was trying to figure out, you know, I had time to kill because I had lots of time on my hands. So I'm sitting there listening to an actual play for hours and hours because I was fucking bored and lonely. You know, and it just happened to be that the GM for one of the shows was the guy who designed Dungeon World. Actually, yeah, that's right. Adam was the one running the Shadowrun campaign. Happened to be he was the Dungeon World designer. I look into Dungeon World, and this unlocks my brain onto this whole new thing where I'm like, this game is crazy. And it's funny because I distinctly remember reading Dungeon World, and I didn't understand how the game worked. I was like, there's no initiative. There's no armor class. There's like kind of an attack roll, but kind of not an attack roll. I was like, I don't understand how the fuck this game works. There's a write-up I don't know if it's still there, but there was a write-up on the Dungeon World website that's called How to Play Dungeon World. And it was basically a really long, extended write-up of how, like, you know, how an hour or so of a Dungeon World game goes, and explained with, you know, like actual play example, how the moves work and how the GM responds and all this shit. And then I was like, oh, I'm kind of getting it now. And then that just got the ball rolling. So that's what I mean about there being a perfect storm, in that just this weird, congruence of stuff going on in your life that hits just right. And then all of a sudden, yeah, now you're on this whole other path that you would have never known about before.
Yeah,
I mean, it applies to a lot of things in life, but we're talking about tabletop, so I'm just applying it to tabletop at the moment.
all right.
But yeah, it's just a I don't know, fascinating not thought experiment, but fascinating like thing to contemplate upon it, I guess.
No, you're right. I
so it's just interesting that you're saying all this to me, and I'm like, I know exactly where your headspace is at.
Honestly, so apologies, dear listener. My throat and chest are still a little fucked up from being sick. With the general thoughts out of the way, I mean, I feel like the thing that I really wanted to talk about was Session Zero, because I can say without a doubt that Monsterhearts has the most fun Session Zero I've ever done.
That's interesting.
It really, so it takes something that I already love, which is the PBTA backstories, right?
Yeah.
And that in of itself is awesome because, you know, a lot of my players are doing a PBTA for the first time, and watching them bounce off each other, it took so much pressure off of me, it felt like, because usually I'm the one who has to text them prior to the campaign and be like, so what are you thinking about for NPCs? What are you thinking about for like shared backstory? Have you been talking to anybody? And my players usually have like the one or two people they talk to about their backstory stuff. But then for the most part, no one else in the party knows each other. And that's a little annoying, right? Like, because the dynamic gets a little stale. Whereas in Apocalypse World, it just, you know, it grabs you by the face and says, you're not allowed to do this shit on your own. You got to do it together. And through that, a bunch of really interesting character dynamics just came out through the woodwork. And that's awesome. But the thing that I loved even more than that is the seating chart. The seating chart is so cool. It's so fun. And like, yeah, I don't know. I struggle to put into words. To give you a bit of a description of what I'm talking about, one of Monsterhearts' core rules for Session Zero is that you build your homeroom class together. These are the other like NPCs, the characters that like your characters will interact with. They are essentially the main cast of the ensemble, including your teacher. And the game tells you that you should think about them or their dynamics as being complicated and overlapping. So what I did, and I did this a little bit weird, because this Monsterhearts campaign is like an AU essentially of my Lancer game, right? My players are playing their Lancer characters as 18-year-old monster people in high school. So the NPCs are just characters they knew from Lancer, which is not typically how you're supposed to do things. It was a little weird, but we figured it out. And essentially what I did was I told them prior to Session 1 or prior to Session 0, like, think about a couple characters, friend and foe, right? Like ally and adversary, that your character would know and would share the class with you. And that was super cool because it did exactly what I wanted. It created really complex social dynamics where one character's friend was like another person's like rival, essentially. Like a really good example was one of my guest players, Cade, his character's NPC best friend and Siffy's character, her character's NPC boyfriend, do not get along with each other. They have like a weird, mysterious beef. but they both get along with Shin, who is Cade's character. And they both get along with Mina, who's Sify's character. And that's super interesting, where you have this definitive conflict that like kind of ruffles the waters, so to speak. Like, it's tough to have those characters in the same room together, but they're sort of inseparable from their players. They're going to have to exist in the same room together.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I don't know. I was giving you time to like have your thoughts. I love this so much.
Yeah, well, it's kind of funny because the session 0 seeding chart thing in Monsterhearts is pretty brief. It really doesn't give you that much in terms of what you should or shouldn't do, or it doesn't really give you a big list of questions or anything. But it is, yeah, it's just enough of it's basically a prompt, right? It's just enough of a prompt that it gets that ball rolling, and it tells you how to string the characters together. And like, that's really ends up being all you need. Yeah, there's just a little bit of question here, question there. How do you know this guy? How do you know that guy? That it just snowballs into, yeah, a big mess of relationships and shit. And it is exactly like, yeah, you hit on exactly what the game wanted you to hit on, basically. That's the history questions in Apocalypse World doing the same thing, right? Like, it gives you these questions that are very provocative and in some scenarios kind of weird, and the provocative question launches the player into thinking about, oh yeah, how would my character do that, or how would they respond to that? That's a weird question. I didn't think about that.
I mean, dude, the provocative questions are my favorite part of this, because they just,
yeah,
the amount of times where I asked the players a question and their response was like, oh fuck, like, now they have to figure this out. And like, my favorite one was Moon's character's best friend, who in Lancer, she's an engineer who got arrested or she got expelled from her like super prestigious college for making contact with the oh god, what are they called? The Children of Ra in Lancer, who are just straight up a terrorist group, because her thesis was on paracausal studies. And when you let the terrorists into the school, they're gonna do terrorist shit. So I had to ask in Monsterhearts in session 0, I was like, okay, why did Nana get arrested? And everybody was like, oh no. And that created a lot of really fun dynamics, because we realized, we discovered that an NPC who also exists in Lancer, who is just like the bane of several people's existence, screwed her over, cost her a scholarship, so she kind of lost it as a, hormonal high schooler, and tried to throw a Molotov through his window.
Nice.
And because she tried throwing a Molotov through his window, Shin's best friend, who was into her for a while, was like, no, this bitch is crazy, actually.
Yeah, never
So
mind.
now those two characters have a weird situationship. The drama is so fucking juicy. It's
the
so
drama.
Good. I love it. So much fun.
Yeah, and it's funny because what you're talking about here, the provocative questions and the way that a PBTA games often guide you through that session 0 stuff. And again, Monsterhearts does this so it barely does it. Like other PBTA games have done it, have guided you on this session 0 stuff more. So the fact that you got so much of a reaction out of Monsterhearts is kind of funny, because it gives you such a brief, like descriptor of it. You know what I mean?
It does, yeah. But I think it was so evocative. It was so effective, despite how little it gives you.
That's what I mean.
I think that's what really attracted me to it. And It's just such a really cool idea, and it does the thing that I love so much, which is the players get to build the world with you. I don't like. It really comes down to it makes my life so much easier.
It does. It does make your life easier. Absolutely. Yes, that is some of the PBTA magic. But you know what the other thing too is that the evocativeness of it often gets players to think about things that they would have never thought about before. And then that causes them to go down rabbit holes about their own character that they probably would have never even considered. And it just helps you build out a more, like a more complex character. And then that generally ends up in turning into a character that feels more fleshed out. And then ergo, a more fleshed out character feels more real. And then ergo, a more real character is often more fun to play because you have all of these different angles to how you can respond to things like you do as a real human being, like real human beings are not one-dimensional. It's not like everyone who in real life doesn't walk around being like, I am the edgy rogue character. I am the heroic fighter character. I am the smarts wizard character, right? Like people are more complicated than that. So these provocative questions that come up send you down these rabbit holes about your character that you would have never in a million years thought about. And the thing that's kind of funny about it is that I have seen people resist, even in Apocalypse World with the history questions, I have seen people resist these questions a little bit because D&D sort of teaches you that you sit down and you make your character, and your character is your character, and that's it. And you get to decide who they are because, in D&D, you don't have a lot of control over the world. The only thing you do have control over is your character, or at least that's what the game tells you. I don't think this is actually how you should play D&D, but this is what the game says to you, broadly speaking. I think D&D is much better if you do let the players influence the actual world and stuff outside of just their character. But the game as is essentially says you can influence your character and that's it. So there's a resistance to the questions because from the D&D mindset, you're like, no, I've already decided on what my character is. I don't want to change it now. Don't take away control of the only thing that I have control of. But what you find out is if you embrace the questions, they expand your character in ways that you would have not have initially thought of, but are more interesting to you just as a player because because the thing is, when you come up with a character in a tabletop game, you probably have these ideas like, oh, I bet this character really likes coffee. But it's never going to come up, but you just had that thought. And then one of the questions, let's say you're doing Apocalypse World, and one of the history questions is like, I saw you in a weird place. Where did I see you? And the player goes, oh, you saw me in this coffee shop that everyone thinks is really bad. And I go there all the time. And now all of a sudden this random thought you had comes up as an idea, and now it's like a notable character thing. So it's like people resist the questions, but once they embrace the questions, they realize that the questions actually let them do. It's like they look at the questions and they think to themselves, oh, these questions are going to get in the way of me making my character and restrict me. What they find out is the questions actually let you make your character more than you would have before. It actually expands what you were already doing.
I had to have a conversation of a similar ilk with Cade himself because he was getting kind of caught up on the stat layouts, and how like there's not many stats, and you have to be bad at one of them. And we were having this talk, and basically what I was explaining was like, rather than not be like annoyed that you have one stat that's not good and one stat that's straight up bad. Think about why your character, who to your, his character is a demigod and is he's an athlete and all these things, but he has really low volatile. And he was like, oh, well, he's probably trained to fight. And I'm like, yeah, but he's got bad volatile. And he's like, yeah, I don't like that. And I go, okay, well, think about it this way. Think about what the game describes the volatile stat to be, and think about why a character who's good at fighting would be bad at lashing out physically. Is he better? Is it just that because he won't use his his fighting knowledge to hurt people? Maybe he's a karateka. He's very defensive. Maybe he's a defender kind of personality where he's not going to hurt people, but he can use cold to shut people down and, put someone in a joint lock as opposed to punching them in the face. And when I explained it to him like that, it started to click for him. And he was like, oh, okay, interesting. All right. And I had to have the talk with a couple players. And I think each time it was more and more effective because it's true, right? Apocalypse World does not want your character to be good at everything. It wants you to explain why your character isn't good at everything.
Yeah, think about it.
Is it a physical limitation? Is it a personality thing?
Yeah. It's the same thing as what I was just saying. It is you initially, again, coming from that D&D mentality, you will initially look at it as restrictive, but what you find out is it's actually the way you get the most out of it is it's descriptive, and that it lets you expand out, taking Cade's character. Okay, so he's bad at volatile, but he's a trained fighter. Maybe he's trained in the he goes to the dojo and he's very disciplined, but when he gets into an actual physical altercation in real life, he just doesn't have the guts for it. He kind of freaks out a little bit. And now you have this new layer to your character that you probably would never have thought of, but now it's here, and now it's probably going to come up, or at least if it doesn't come up, it's always this little element in the background that you could reference or think about. So yeah, you shouldn't think of it as it's not rules, right? People look at them like rules. They're not rules, they're prompts. They're prompts to get your mind going. They're prompts to make you think about stuff. They're prompts to make your character more interesting. It really just goes back to being open. First, you have to be open-minded enough. What? Open-minded enough. That was a weird one. You have to be open-minded enough to try a new game, right? That's step one. Step two then is to be open-minded enough to do what the game is asking of you to get the most out of it. Because you could try a new game, right? Let's say you go from D&D to Dungeon World, right? A game that's a little bit closer to D&D. And then you look at the bonds rules. Maybe you don't like the rules for bonds in Dungeon World. And so you just ignore, you're like, we're just not going to use those. We're going to ignore those because, I don't know, those are weird. I don't like those. Those aren't very D&D-esque. It's like, okay, so you're trying a new game, but you're resisting what the new game is presenting to you. So you're missing out on some of the magic of what the new game could be doing for you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense, right?
Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, okay. To think about it.
To summarize, sometimes you just gotta... You need to be willing to just go along with it.
Yeah, you gotta roll with it. You know, I'm gonna resist the sex analogy. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it.
You paused and I was like, where's this?
I'm not gonna do it. It's the thing where, maybe your friend wants to go to a certain kind of bar that plays loud EDM music or whatever, and you're not a big EDM guy, but you're open to the experience because your friend wants to do it. You want to try it out. You're like, okay, and then you go and you end up having a good time, and you get a chick's number or whatever, and it goes well. But you could also go to said bar and just sit there and sip water and be a mopey bitch and not be open to not be open to the event and trying things out. There's those two different paths when you try something new. You could be resistant, or you could let it happen to you. Mm-hmm. Tabletop is a very similar kind of thing. You can resist the new game you're trying, or you can let the new game into your heart and see where it goes.
Yeah, let it in. Let it give you a sweet crest of the undercarriage. You might like it. You might not, but you might.
You might like it. And that's the thing. If you try it, you go with it, right? You look at the game, you do everything it asks of you, you try it out, and you go, nah, didn't work out. Okay, fine. That's fine. Like you tried it, you thought about it, and you said, never mind, fuck that noise. But you gotta at least be open to the experience one time. You know, music, it's literally your friend showing you a new song, being like, oh, there's a song I've been listening to a shitload. I think you might like it. And then they play it for you. Don't decide that you hate it from the beginning. Try and actually fucking listen to it. You know, it's
like that you're
it's
just
that
describing
same mentality.
your and my relationship of me just being like, you should listen to this song.
I know.
Me
And listen,
literally sending you a song right before we recorded.
I do. Is that what you sent me? I saw. I didn't actually open it.
Butcher Vanity by Jamie Page and Rice Deity. God, that song slaps.
As I was like, yeah, that's, you need to, yeah, it's that same mentality. And sometimes you do and sometimes you don't, but you should try and do it as much as you can.
Yeah, look, I'm not saying you're going to love that song. I'm just saying that song fucking slaps.
Fair enough. And also, sometimes there's just a certain kind of, sometimes there's a unique kind of fun to being like, I have no fucking clue what's going on right now, but I'm just rolling with it. You know what I mean? That can be its own fun sometimes.
No, dude, the first time, have I ever told you about the first concert I ever went to?
No.
Okay, this is such a tangent. It's fine. We're only an hour in. We have time.
I mean, it's a related tangent.
It is, yeah. So when I was a junior, no, I just started off as a senior in high school. It's probably September or October or something. Or no, I was a junior. The summer of my junior year, or the spring and summer, I had a friend who I was in track with, and his girlfriend I've known since kindergarten. He was a year ahead of me. And
okay,
they had broken up in like March, and I was just like starting to like reconnect with her and hang out. And I was gonna do the nefarious thing of slide in on my buddy's girlfriend after they broke up. I didn't do it. I grew a conscience. But I was trying for a while. And she invited me to a concert, and it was Gojira and Meshuggah, which is an all-star metal lineup for your first concert, frankly.
That's, yeah, okay. Wow.
Yeah. And
I mean, Gojira alone is wild.
I know, dude. Honestly, I wish I was older and went to that show because I would have appreciated it so much more.
Yeah.
But I went in and was like, oh, I want to do a mosh pit. I've always heard about those. It seems really fun.
Oh, God.
And for the like 30 minutes I was in it, I had a great time. I was throwing fists. I was swanging. I was fucking shoving. And then I got punched in the face. Yeah. And I don't mean punched. I've been punched in the face a lot in my youth. But I mean punched in the face and my feet went off the ground.
Oh, no.
Just laid the fuck out. Give me that fucking Batman impact bubble. Like,
yeah.
Floored. Like, hashtag destroyed.
Destroyed.
And I'm on my back, and I'm seeing 4 of everything. My face is on fire, and I'm like, what the fuck? I don't want to do this anymore. This sucks. Yeah. And I get to my feet, barely, and the song ends, and I know the etiquette, right? I got about 10 seconds to clear the fucking gate
to get the fuck out of there.
Yeah. And I'm stumbling on, and I get to the precipice, and the next song's drum fill hits, and these 2 big biker dudes just close up on me, and they look me in the eye and go, "Sorry, man," and shove me back into the pit.
No!
And I get pinballed for about 4 minutes. I'm getting wailed on because I'm so disoriented. And I spin around, and oh look, there's another fist. Here comes the giant fist. And I am back on my fucking back. And I know my nose is bleeding. And I'm like, there is regret going on.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I was way closer to the edge. So I managed to get out, and I spent the rest of the concert, like, sitting down, seeing, like, I was like, I probably am concussed right now.
Did they really hit you with the sorry, chief?
Yeah, they were like, sorry,
That's
man.
crazy.
Literally,
Yo.
the pearly gates shutting on me.
Yo, they really said, sorry, I gotta do this to you, bud, but GG. Like, that's crazy.
Straight hit me with the sucks to suck loser.
Sucks to suck, nerd. Bah!
Yeah, dude, it was.
I just imagine them Spartan kicking you back into the crowd. Ah! Crazy.
Dude, they may as well have.
Oh, that's fucking.
I'm the Persians, and they're Leonidas doing the to the cliffs.
Meanwhile, wait, and you just couldn't make your way back to the edge after that?
No, dude, the pit was wild. Like, there were little pockets of freedom where you could catch your breath. And this girl, and we're gonna call her Olivia, because it's very close to her actual name. I like this. It was the most surreal experience because she was about 6'3".
Wait, she was in the mosh with you?
Oh yeah. Oh, both of them were. The girl that I was into and this girl Olivia were both in the mosh. And again, Olivia's probably 6'3" and maybe 180 pounds.
Oh,
huge woman.
Yeah,
big woman. I turn around again. I'm like, I think I'm dying. I think I'm concussed. And she's just being crowd surfed. Like it played out like a cartoon. Like the music died down, and I'm like, what is going?
How did the crowd surfing? What in crowd surfing in the mosh pit? What?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and as like someone yanked her shoe off, and I saw it go flying, and she left that concert with only one shoe.
All right.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
I feel like this has to be the clip, right?
I maybe, I don't know. Like, I just. So wait. Did you? So you escaped after that second song?
Yeah, I escaped, and I came back into the like venue proper. Like I came back to the crowd every couple songs, but like I was hurt. Like I was like nauseous. Like that's how hard I got hit. And again,
I mean,
as someone who's trained in boxing since my freshman year of high school, I've been hit in the face very hard, and that one was like negative, Chief. We're done.
I mean, you almost certainly had a concussion.
And it happened twice. I think that's the worst part. Is it?
Oh my god!
It literally felt like something out of a fucking sitcom.
Yeah.
Good times.
What made you think of this?
Oh, just the trying new things.
Oh, all right, fair enough.
The moral to the end of that story is I saw my friend after he graduated looking really sad about the breakup, and I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. That's a little crazy.
I was gonna say, you didn't, right?
I know I didn't. Every fiber of my being was on villain time up until I saw him look like a broken man, and I just was like, no, there's my conscience. I
have a funny story about that one.
Oh, please do tell.
Not right now. It's afterward.
Ah, damn it. Okay. No, and I'm so curious. Fuck. Okay, fine.
I will tell you later. Don't worry.
All right. On to my final chapter of my notes, playing the game. Exhibit 1. Getting weird. And I very specifically remember talking to you about this, where I was like, my players, I love them, but some of them are pretty socially awkward. I don't know if they're gonna have the chutzpah to get weird. And thankfully, Sereth, my saving grace,
got weird.
She got weird immediately. The second she was like, I want to play a Fae, I knew in my heart of fucking hearts that she was gonna go places no other player went. She is, count 'em, the only player to use a sex move in the first 2 sessions. And she was gonna have it done in the first session had another player not taken that NPC from her.
Damn, crazy.
So the setup for the party was that it was essentially like a house party from the richest kid in town, and they got, all of the hits. There's a wall of booze, a huge party bowl full of like Molly and E and fucking Eddies and everything else you could have under the sun, tabs and whatnot. and there's like this pink miasma that's sort of existing in the air that's having non-supernatural characters act on their like basest instincts, be it like violence or sex, drugs, and rock and roll, whatever you want to do. And characters were like being flirty and all this fun stuff's happening, and she immediately went to her rival character, who's also a fae, and put the moves on her and the dude that character that they were trying to mess with, and pulled the two of them into a threesome, and then was trying to smash Paladin's character. Dude, it was just every time she took the mic, I was like, oh baby, it's finna go down.
Boy,
and it did every single time, and then she caught a body, and I was so happy because what I had, like, what I put my faith in, and what I told you was, I just need one person to set the bar.
Yeah.
Because once one person sets the bar, everyone goes, oh, okay, that didn't make me uncomfortable. I can do that. And in fact, that wasn't that bad. Maybe I can push a little farther. And they were. Like, every character was like Moon's character was handing out condoms to all her male friends, and then was talking to Shin, who was her character's boyfriend, and was like, I have one extra, you know? And I was like, hey, yo!
Hey, yeah.
So good.
Well, I mean, listen, you remember how we were talking about how Apocalypse World is a strange eldritch being that seems to dive into the weirdness no matter what you do?
Oh,
you just cannot resist it.
I counted on it. I literally gave myself to the beast. I waded into deep waters and let it take me.
Yeah, you saw it in real time happen. And like I said when we were talking about Apocalypse World, I don't know how or why or what. I don't know what's going on, but it is an eldritch demon that just pulls you into the darkness every fucking time. It's crazy.
Every time. Yeah. And it went on like a charm. Like, from the second the stage was set, everything just unfolded like magic.
Well, that's the thing. Once the first, it's got as a game, it very much has that domino effect where once that first domino gets knocked over, like you're saying, once the first person does the weird thing, everyone else is going to start doing the weird thing.
And they absolutely did.
And the thing too, the other part of it too, because you might say, you know, someone might hear that and go, okay, but isn't that just the players being weird? Like, what does that have to do with the game? And the answer is that, yes, it's the players being weird, but the game facilitates the weirdness. Like, the game doesn't resist you when you go down the weird rabbit hole. The game works with you. So you end up going further down that rabbit hole than you initially anticipated.
Mm-hmm.
It goes with you on the journey.
It does. And as to that journey, wow, man, when I think Apocalypse World is the one that says it, where it's like shit rolls downhill.
Move snowball is how Apocalypse World phrases it.
I think there's a line in that paragraph that says shit rolls downhill, and it really does, especially in this game. I really love that the MC reactions are designed to keep tension and drama steadily rising. Like, my two favorite ones are leap to the worst possible conclusion and expose a dangerous secret to the wrong person. Those are my absolute favorites, because in any other game, a character randomly jumping to conclusions, that's annoying, right? That's just the GM being mean. But when you go into the game knowing that it's high school, it's dramatic, it's melodramatic, that's just what's gonna happen, and you prepare yourself for it, and you're expecting it.
It's the theme it's trying to execute on. Yeah,
it just works. Perfect example, Moon's character, I'm just gonna start referring to them by name, Ava, and Paladin's character, Nate. Nate's whole thing is he's a Cerberus, he's like a guardian of the underworld, so because Ava is a ghost, he's like, what are you doing up here? I don't like that. And because he was like, I'm just gonna go hard from the very start, literally 5 minutes into session 1, pulled Ava to the side and was like, I know you're dead. I know what you are. And that he got that because of his backstory. Like, that's what they shared. So that immediately like set off a chain of reactions where they met during lunch and had a conversation. And I was like, oh, well, Moon's character is kind of a drama magnet, not really from her own fault, but drama just follows her. So it makes sense that someone snapped a photo of these two speaking in like a little cubby in the hallway. I wonder what people would think if that got passed around. And it did. And when they went to the party, she was never free from rumors, just following her. And like, it was sick. As a minor thought though, and this is not a gripe, but since I have been playing Kain, I almost wish there was like an actual tension and pressure meter like Kain, essentially clocks that say like, when enough things happen and like set a set of parameters that it auto triggers a like more severe reaction, you know? In Kain, they're called tension moves. And they literally like reused that vernacular moves.
I mean, there sort of kind of is a little bit, and I don't remember if Monsterhearts addresses this or not, but Apocalypse World has the idea of soft versus hard moves, which I think is kind of in line with what you're talking about, where the idea that some moves are soft moves, meaning that the consequences of the move are not immediate, whereas a hard move is like, it's an immediate, like, we're doing this now, like, you fucked up. The sort of classic example is the player character is walking through the forest and the GM says, you walk into this little ring of trees and you see the glint of metal in the trees, and the player character's like, oh, I immediately dodge into a nearby bush, and you're like, okay, and you dodge in the nearby bush, and then goblins let loose a bunch of arrows, but they miss you because you rolled out of the way. That would be a soft move because you were telling them you see an oncoming danger that's about to happen. Whereas the hard move would be, you walk into this little circle of trees and you get riddled with arrows. You take you take 1d10 damage if you're talking about Dungeon World, because you've been shot by a bunch of goblins. And the reason it's a hard move is because the GM probably told you some sort of information that you ignored, or you failed to roll prior to that, and that sets you up into a bad situation. So that kind of exists, but yeah, it's not put in the form of like a clock or a timer of any kind.
I think you'd really like the tension moves because because the way Kain does it is you have a tension clock and you have a pressure clock. The tension clock only has 3 phases, and basically whenever the players roll a 1, they fail a roll outright, they don't have any successes, and you limit that to once per scene per player. You can put a tick on the clock. Every time they change a scene, you put a tick on a clock. And I think there are miscellaneous things that can increase the tension clock. And once that fills up, you bump up the pressure by 1, which is like a, abstract for situations getting more dire. And once you fill out the tension clock, you get to do a tension move, which is like use one of the sin domains, or separate the players, have the sin attack, have the sin's minions attacks. It literally is the Apocalypse World reactions, but they can be more brutal because you're giving the players a definitive like peek into what they're doing. Right, they can
there's
see
a timer
the hit coming,
indicating what's happening.
Yes,
it's the Dark Souls idea, like a move that does an absolute fuck ton of damage is telegraphed.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen other games bring up somewhat similar. I think Fabula actually tells you to do something similar, where basically if there's a move that's going to do something really crazy, your players should have some kind of warning for it. So, yeah. Or, a clock or something like that. So, yes.
I just checking my notes.
Yes, Monsterhearts doesn't strictly have it, but it sort of kind of has it. In a
sort
sense.
of, kind of, yeah. I just feel like, because the Trigger Darkest Self one is like the perfect one to put at the end of a tension clock. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
You're like,
like
oh,
you
well,
fucked up a bunch of times. Time to do this.
Yeah, like your character's just going fucking through it, my guy.
Yeah.
It's time to turn to a werewolf.
Makes sense.
I would like to see that. I think, yeah. I can't wait for you to bring Kane. You're gonna love it. I know it. I feel it. I feel it in my bones. Anyway. And then this last one, which I've titled Coming to a Head, is, and we brought this up earlier. The game literally has you as the MC waiting with bated breath. You want to know what happens next just as much as the players do. And when the players are like, what, they will ask you like, what are we going to do? And you're just like, I don't fucking know. What are we going to do? Because
that goes back to some of that Apocalypse World magic. For sure.
Oh, 100%. I have no doubt.
Going back to it's an eldritch beast that just does things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so, and again, it's kind of funny to talk about because it almost sounds a little ridiculous to say this kind of thing. Like, what do you mean the GM doesn't know what's going to happen? The GM always knows what's going to happen. And your response is like, yes, but also no.
Bold of you to assume that I'm not also on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, like that's kind of the thing about the way these PBTA games work, is that part of the appeal to GMing them is that you don't know, because the game is taking you for a ride as much as it's taking for the players for a ride, and you are going for a slightly different ride than the players, but there is still a ride to be had. You know?
Yeah, no, like, we really can't stress this shit enough. This game is an eldritch abomination. It just does what it wants.
It just, it's the only way I know how to describe it. I know it sounds crazy, and I understand someone listening and being like, what the fuck are you on about? But yeah, it's just, I don't know. Vincent Baker hit a certain magic in the game design that just works. He look, somehow
into debate. He really did do it to him. Like,
yeah, he did it to him. He did it to him. And again, as someone who's played these kinds of games quite a bit, I really can't fully identify or explain what it is. I just know it's there. And I've heard other designers and shit try to talk about it, and they kind of can't. I almost wonder if Vincent Baker himself couldn't even necessarily fully describe what he did. You know what I mean? Like, I almost wonder if he created a beast and he's not even really sure how he created it.
Well, yeah, like, there are times when you truly do catch lightning in the bottle.
Yeah. That's what it feels like.
Somehow, the Mad Lad did it.
And I'm glad you're saying it too, because it doesn't now. Because before it just sounded like I was just glazing, brother, the system too much.
Don't worry,
but
I am the one.
You've seen it.
I am the Stilgar in this situation.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Something happens. Anything happens. And I'm like, yeah.
I'm over here sitting like, please, people, listen to me. No, so I'm glad I got someone else on my fucking team.
PBTA game does a thing. I'm out here going,
like, it's kind of funny because I don't know if you remember this, but there was a point where we were considering running masks. I don't even remember who wanted to run it, but somebody wanted to run. Maybe it was Sam. And Matt was reading it, and he was like, he said something along the lines of like, how the fuck do you run this game? It's so fucking vague. And I got like personally offended when he said, like, I got actively mad when Matt said that, because I was like, no, Matt, it's not fucking vague. You just don't know what the hell you're looking at. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was that thing where I was like, you just don't understand, motherfucker. Like, I got a little mad, and like, I tried not to jump down his throat, but I wanted to. You know? Which is why, side note, it is still my mission to have Matt play a old school PBTA game of some kind. It's on the fucking list. It's gonna happen. I don't know how or when or what, but it's gonna happen.
Honestly, I think once he stops ostriching, he'll figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it, but that's why I think if I run something like it probably will be just Apocalypse World straight up because, you know, I'll take an excuse to run that game again.
You know what I love is I can visualize it, and I know you can too, exactly how he's gonna respond when he hears this episode. He's gonna join a Discord call and be like, "Fuck you guys."
Yeah, no, I know. But,
he's gonna say no, but he's gonna say it exactly like that. Yeah, that's what happens whenever we call him out.
Yes, he is gonna say it that way. You're right. I understand. Matt is the kind of person where it's harder for him to jump into that rabbit hole sometimes, but I feel like if I run it for him, you know, it'll unlock something. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll be disappointed, but I don't think so. Anyway,
I believe in him.
I believe we don't need to keep roasting Matt.
Look, he still owes me Kamagakari. I'm gonna roast him as much as I goddamn will.
That shit's never happening,
brother. I know. Look, honestly, we don't need it anymore. We have Kane.
It's true.
I just wanted to play Jujutsu Kaisen in D&D anyway, and now I can actually play Jujutsu Kaisen in
Problem solved.
I would 100% run a game of Kane. Did I tell you how hard I went prepping for Kane for my family?
No.
So the way you prep for Kane is you basically create a I don't even know how to call it, like a flow chart. And the flow chart has like the host, the sin, the location, all the relevant information you need, and it separates it into critical information, secondary information, tertiary information. And you sort of expand the flow chart in almost like concentric rings as the information becomes more and more unnecessary. So I made that. I wrote like first I wrote a document, then I made the flow chart. And then I wanted to give them something tangible to like look at and reference. So I found a template for a like a mission briefing, like PowerPoint.
Oh yes, the PowerPoint. Yes.
Yeah. So I made a mission briefing for my players. I also ran this for Sereth, Paladin, and Matt.
Yes, yeah.
And they were, I don't know how they did it. This is not a call out, but
I'm actually kind of surprised you got Matt to play this game.
I literally, he was like, "What do you want to do on Saturday?" And I was like, I'm running this game. It's 50 pages. I believe in you. And he was like, oh shit. Okay.
Nice.
And he did it.
Just didn't give him a choice.
They hit DEFCON 5 so quickly. Like my family, I guess it's because of the inexperience that they were like, we can't get caught. We got to keep things subtle. Can't go off the rails. My family played it very safe. But Sarah the Paladin and Matt played their investigation like a burning ship.
Yeah.
Like they still don't know who the host is. They don't know what the sin looks like. They haven't met it yet. And they're already at pressure 2 of 6 and got stuck in the ogre's labyrinth. And all 3 of them took 1 injury. Nice. And they all took the injury trying to clear a spike trap. Like a spike pit. They just
not even like a fight or anything.
No.
Nice.
They're like, oh, we gotta finish it. And I want to, but I'm gonna ask them like, okay, is there anything y'all want to retcon?
That's
now that you've had like a week or 2 to think about it. Right. Yeah, I mean,
any other thoughts?
No, I mean, I wanted to talk a little bit about like I had a lot. It was really interesting. This is my closing thought. It was really interesting watching everything come to a head at the end of session 1, because that is sort of what your ultimate goal is in Monsterhearts, right? Is you're slowly pushing your players towards the precipice, and they are trying to pull back from it, right? In a very literal way of trying to not reveal that they're a monster to the world. So part of your fun as the MC is just to see when they crack. And it happens, and it was magical. And it was really cool because, you know, we had, as Siffy put it, the sex mist.
The sex mist.
I took a lot of inspiration from the episode Troubles with Tribbles from Star Trek, where like they touch the animal, the like little fuzzball that makes them like simulate being intoxicated. And then I mixed in a little bit of the like lotuses from Percy Jackson. It was a good time. And I got to do that thing that I talked about in the initial like talk about the book, where because Gaze into the Abyss is your I can't connect these dots, DM connect the dots.
Yeah, tell me something.
You can create less connected but still congruent storytelling, right? You can present them a problem that they cannot player logic their way out of because it's an innately illogical problem. The weird drug mist is an illogical problem that they maybe could solve with just some like thinking, but that's literally the stuff that Gaze into the Abyss is there for.
Yeah.
And because there's no immediate bad thing to gazing into the abyss, even if you fail, you're likely gonna fail forward and get an answer, maybe just not the one you want, right? Because it doesn't say that you don't gaze into the abyss. It just says the abyss gazes back, kind, and some shit happens to you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about moves, right? It always pushes the fiction forward. It never stagnates.
And let me tell you, it did. It pushed forward. And it was really fun to just like let the players start to think abstractly, like supernaturally about things. Like the second, I think it was Moon's character where it was like, is this weird, like mist shit? Is this magical? Because this doesn't seem right. Like they were trying to follow Brett's character, who was not even in the area. It was just the abyss giving them like weird hallucinations. So once they started thinking about it in terms of maybe this mist is supernatural origin, it's weird, like a different part of their brains activated and they started thinking super abstract about everything. And that was awesome.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, that's really it. That's my closing thought. Just game good, game cool.
Yes, game good. Yeah. I have nothing to say. I sit upon my throne of victory. I need not say more.
I sit here for my throne of being fucking right.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Like I said, I'll give it to you. When I, if nothing else, I can admit when I am wrong. Not that I'm necessarily wrong in this one, but I can admit when you're right.
Yeah, not that you weren't wrong about anything in particular, but like I said, when I was talking about Apocalypse World, I'm like, I know I sound crazy. I know I do, because it's so hard to explain, but once you try it, it locks into place. It just do how it do. I don't know. That's what it does. That's what it do, Yug. That's not even what that card does. That's what it do, Yug. Yeah. And yeah, my fucking play Monsterhearts, play Apocalypse World, play a little Dungeon World, play it, really kind of whatever PBTA game tickles your fancy, really.
Just
if you would like a more recent option, you know, Avatar Legends came out recently. I still haven't played it. It's on the list, but you know.
Methinks Paladin doesn't want to run it anymore.
Yeah, no, I know he doesn't.
He was like, if anything, I'm just gonna run Fabula. I'm like, that's valid. It's valid of you.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm curious to see how he'll do with like character creator stuff or a creature creator.
It's something. Let me tell you, it's giving me a run for my money. Anyway, hit follow or subscribe if you listened to all this nonsense because we forgot in the beginning.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's fine. Not important.
I was too busy screaming, crying, mauling over my inability.
Screaming, crying, freaking, mauling,
Mauling, yeah.
Exploding. And
Did you buy me Dune, you fuck?
Goodbye forever.
Okay.
That was great.